The radiant studio illumination of CNN's exclusive town hall gathering through extended shadows as Judge Judy Sheindlin positioned herself opposite Representative Jasmine Crockett. What began as a courteous dialogue concerning criminal justice reform was on the verge of erupting into the most striking and astonishing political clash of the year. Judge Judy, renowned for her straightforward demeanor and incisive wit, had just encountered a remark that ignited her fury. Her iconic gavel was absent, but her finger was aimed squarely at the youthful Texas Democrat. "You're utterly clueless about what you're discussing," Judge Judy's voice thundered through the studio, her face flushing with anger. 3 decades on the bench, and I'm forced to hear this nonsense. But what unfolded next left everyone in the room utterly stunned. Jasmine Crockett's retort was so composed, so deliberate, and so shattering that it not only quieted the iconic judge but spread like wildfire globally within hours. Before we delve into this remarkable confrontation, ensure you tap that like button and subscribe to catch every one of these electrifying political moments. Believe me, you'll want to witness how this concludes. The atmosphere in that CNN studio was so intense you could slice it with a blade. Two formidable women, divided by generations and vastly different perspectives, were poised to collide in a manner that would redefine how America perceives both judicial power and political bravery. At 81, Judge Judy Sheindlin is more than a television figure, she's a cultural cornerstone. For over 2 decades, her courtroom program ruled daytime TV, establishing her as one of the highest-paid personalities on television, with a yearly income that once soared to $47 million. Her razor-sharp humor, swift rulings, and memorable sayings like "Don't urinate on my leg" and "Claim its precipitation" made her a familiar name in American homes. Yet Judge Judy isn't merely entertainment. She served 25 years as an actual judge in New York's family court, managing over 20,000 cases before transitioning to TV. Her reputation rests on being stern yet equitable, slicing through absurdity and delivering justice with raw candor. She's someone who commands reverence wherever she appears. However, at 81, some question whether Judge Judy's traditional approach remains relevant in today's world. Her generation embraced rigid law enforcement, individual accountability, and no tolerance for excuses. She's never shied away from confrontation, especially when she feels someone is disrespecting the justice system she's devoted her life to upholding. Across from her sat Representative Jasmine Crockett, a 43-year-old civil rights lawyer turned politician representing Texas's 30th congressional district. Crockett didn't rise from political aristocracy. She earned her congressional seat through diligence, legal acumen, and an unyielding dedication to advocating for justice. Before entering Congress in 2023, Crockett forged her reputation as a tenacious defense attorney and civil rights advocate. She fears neither powerful figures nor daunting situations. During her tenure in the Texas legislature, she gained attention for her fervent speeches on voting rights, criminal justice reform, and racial equity. What makes Crockett especially formidable in debates is her legal expertise. She knows how to construct arguments, present evidence, and remain composed under pressure. She's also part of a new wave of black women in Congress who refuse to be silenced or cowed by conventional authority figures. This wasn't merely a debate between two individuals, it symbolized a profound clash between two visions of American justice. Judge Judy embodies the traditional guard, tough on crime, personal responsibility, and conventional judicial authority. Jasmine Crockett represents the emerging wave, criminal justice reform, tackling systemic racism, and challenging outdated approaches to law and order. The subject that brought them together was meant to be a simple discussion about criminal justice reform at CNN's special town hall. But the stakes were far greater. Whose vision of justice would connect with the American public? Could the legendary Judge Judy uphold her authority when confronted by a skilled attorney-turned-politician? Or would Jasmine Crockett demonstrate that the new generation of leaders won't be intimidated by old-school authority? With millions watching live and social media poised to amplify every moment, both women knew this exchange could shape their legacies. Neither intended to yield. The CNN town hall began routinely enough. Host Anderson Cooper introduced both women respectfully, highlighting their impressive credentials. The initial questions about criminal justice reform were addressed professionally, with both Judge Judy and Jasmine Crockett articulating their perspectives clearly. Trouble brewed when Anderson Cooper raised the issue of sentencing disparities in drug-related crimes. Jasmine Crockett, speaking with the assurance of someone who has represented countless clients within the system, began explaining how mandatory minimum sentences disproportionately impact black and brown communities. "The evidence is undeniable," Crockett declared, gazing directly into the camera. "We have a two-tiered justice system where a young black man with a small amount of marijuana faces years in prison, while wealthy white defendants receive probation for far graver offenses." Judge Judy's eyes narrowed, her fingers tapping the table, a telltale sign familiar to fans of her show. But Crockett pressed on. "We must acknowledge that our justice system was constructed on racist foundations, and simply being harsh on crime isn't justice, it's perpetuating inequity." "Pardon me," Judge Judy interjected, her voice sharp enough to cut through steel. Racist foundations? I've presided in courtrooms for over 30 years. Young lady, and justice is blind. It doesn't see race, it sees conduct. The studio's temperature seemed to plummet. Anderson Cooper shifted uneasily, sensing the mounting tension. But Judge Judy wasn't done. I've sentenced individuals of every race, every background, every economic status. If you commit a crime, you face consequences. That's not racism, that's accountability. Jasmine Crockett remained unruffled, her legal training taking over. With respect, Judge Sheindlin, the data tells a different story. Black defendants receive sentences that are, on average, 19% longer than white defendants for identical crimes. That's not opinion, that's documented fact. Judge Judy's face began to redden. In her world, facts were what transpired in her courtroom, not statistics from academic studies. Statistics can be twisted, Congresswoman. What I witnessed daily for 25 years were people making choices, good choices and bad choices. Stop excusing criminal behavior. I'm not excusing it, Crockett responded, her voice steady but resolute. I'm questioning why a black teenager with a joint gets 5 years while a white college student with cocaine gets community service. That's not about choices, that's about bias. The studio audience began to murmur, some nodding in support of Judge Judy's stern stance, others clearly aligning with Crockett's reform message. Anderson Cooper tried to maintain order, but both women were locked in a stare-down that felt more like a courtroom duel than a TV interview. That's when Judge Judy made a critical error. Instead of focusing on policy differences, she turned personal. You know what your issue is? Judge Judy said, pointing directly at Crockett. Your generation believes everything is someone else's fault. You want to blame the system instead of holding people accountable for their actions. That's not justice, that's social work. The dismissive tone of your generation lingered in the air like smoke. Crockett's expression remained unchanged, but her posture shifted slightly. She sat up straighter, her legal training fully engaged. Judge Judy pressed on, clearly believing she held the advantage. You've been in Congress for, what, 5 minutes? And you think you understand justice better than someone who's lived it for 3 decades? Anderson Cooper sensed trouble brewing. Let's take a step back, he said, but Judge Judy was relentless. I've seen thousands of cases, made thousands of rulings, and kept communities safe while you were probably still in law school, learning theories from professors who never stepped foot in a real courtroom. The studio fell silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Judge Judy had just questioned not only Crockett's experience but essentially labeled her naive and unqualified on live television. Jasmine Crockett sat calmly, hands folded in her lap, the pause stretching like an eternity. The audience leaned forward, Anderson Cooper looked anxious, and Judge Judy leaned back, clearly anticipating either an emotional outburst or a defensive retort. She got neither. Instead, Jasmine Crockett did something unexpected. She smiled. Not a broad or forced smile, but a subtle, knowing one that somehow seemed more threatening than any angry response. Judge Sheindlin, she said, her voice so calm it was almost a whisper, compelling everyone to lean in. I have a question for you. Judge Judy, perhaps sensing she'd overstepped but unwilling to retreat, gestured for her to proceed. In all your years on the bench, did you ever pause to consider why certain communities appeared in your courtroom more frequently than others? The question hung like a challenge. Judge Judy's confidence wavered slightly, but she pressed on. Because those communities commit more crimes, she replied definitively. That's when Jasmine Crockett struck. Her smile never faltered as she leaned forward slightly, her voice still calm but now carrying the weight of someone who'd been handed the perfect opening. Judge Sheindlin, with all due respect, that response right there is precisely why we need criminal justice reform. The words landed like a precise blow. Judge Judy's confident demeanor began to crack as she realized she might have walked into a trap. You see, Crockett continued, her legal training evident in her methodical argument. What you just said implies you believe some communities are inherently more criminal. But what if I told you that communities with heavier police presence naturally see more arrests? What if I told you that the mandatory minimum laws you endorse were deliberately designed to target crack cocaine used more in black communities, with sentences 100 times harsher than powder cocaine, used more in white communities? Judge Judy attempted to interrupt. Now, hold on a moment, but Crockett raised her hand with the quiet authority of someone who knew the facts were on her side. I'm not finished, Your Honor, she said, the formality perfectly calculated to show respect while subtly reminding everyone she understood courtroom protocol and wasn't intimidated. You questioned my experience. Let me share my experience. I've represented clients sentenced to decades for drug offenses while their white counterparts received probation. I've seen a black teenager get 15 years for armed robbery while a white teenager committing the same crime got 3 years. I've watched mothers lose their children to a system that treats addiction as a crime in poor communities but as a health issue in wealthy ones. Judge Judy's face grew redder, but not from anger, from embarrassment. She could sense the audience shifting, the momentum changing. But Crockett wasn't done. "You mentioned I've been in Congress for 5 minutes. That's true. I'm new to Congress, but before that, I spent years as a public defender and civil rights attorney. I've been in more courtrooms, fought more cases, and seen more injustice than most people witness in a lifetime." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle before delivering her next line with surgical precision. "The difference between us, Judge Sheindlin, is that you sat on a bench and decided fates. I stood before benches and fought for justice. You saw defendants as cases to be processed. I saw them as human beings whose lives were being destroyed by a system never designed to be fair." The studio was silent. Anderson Cooper looked like he wanted to vanish. But Jasmine Crockett wasn't finished dismantling Judge Judy's worldview. "And since you brought up manipulated statistics, let me share some undeniable facts. The United States, with 5% of the world's population, holds 25% of its prisoners. We incarcerate people at rates higher than authoritarian regimes. Black Americans are imprisoned at rates 5 times higher than whites, despite similar drug use rates." Judge Judy tried to speak, but her voice was weaker. "Those are just numbers," she said. "No," Crockett interrupted firmly. "Those are lives. Those are families torn apart, communities devastated by policies people like you called tough but fair without ever questioning whether they were truly just." Then came the moment that would be replayed millions of times across social media. Jasmine Crockett leaned back, her expression shifting from professional to deeply personal. "You want to talk about accountability, Judge Sheindlin? Let's talk about accountability. You built a career on entertainment masked as justice. You turned real people's struggles into television drama. You earned millions yelling at people who couldn't fight back because they needed the appearance fee." The audience gasped. This was an unexpected turn. "And now you dare lecture me about justice? You, who turned judicial proceedings into a spectacle. You, who profited from mocking people's pain." Judge Judy's face paled. For the first time in decades, she was speechless. But Jasmine Crockett saved her most cutting moment for last. She stood slowly, maintaining eye contact with Judge Judy. "Your Honor," she said, the title now laced with subtle sarcasm, "you asked what my problem is. My problem isn't with accountability, it's with hypocrisy. My problem isn't with justice, it's with those who profit from injustice and then lecture others about responsibility." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper that commanded more attention than any shout. "You've built a career on being tough, but being tough on those who can't fight back isn't strength, it's bullying. And I don't get intimidated by bullies, no matter how famous they are." The studio fell into absolute silence. Judge Judy sat stunned, her mouth slightly open, no words emerging. For someone who built her reputation on always having the final word, she had been utterly disarmed by a congresswoman who never raised her voice or lost her composure but systematically dismantled every argument and challenged every assumption. Anderson Cooper, sensing the moment was over, tried to regain control. "We're going to take a commercial break," he said, but the damage was done. Judge Judy, the woman who had dominated television for decades by intimidating others, had just been calmly, coldly, and completely outmatched on live television. As the cameras cut to commercial, they caught Judge Judy sitting alone, looking smaller than ever, while Jasmine Crockett calmly gathered her papers with the satisfied expression of someone who had just won the biggest case of her career. Within seconds of the break, social media exploded like a volcano. The hashtag Jasmine Destroys Judy trended globally before the show even ended. Video clips of Crockett's composed demolition of Judge Judy spread faster than Twitter's servers could manage. The most viral clip was Jasmine saying, "I don't get intimidated by bullies, no matter how famous they are." That 10-second soundbite garnered over 50 million views in the first 24 hours and became an instant meme template. A Twitter user, @PoliticalFacts, posted, "Jasmine Crockett just delivered a masterclass in dismantling someone without raising her voice." Judge Judy got obliterated and couldn't even respond. Another viral tweet from @old legal read, "I've practiced law for 15 years, and I've never seen someone dissected so methodically." Crockett didn't just win, she performed surgery on live TV. The internet turned the confrontation into comedy gold. Memes flooded platforms, including side-by-side images of Judge Judy's confident start versus her stunned silence at the end. Caption, "How it started versus how it ended." GIFs of Jasmine's calm delivery appeared with captions like, "When someone tries to intimidate you, but you have the facts." A TikTok user created a Jasmine Crockett Savage Moments compilation, garnering 25 million views, featuring her calmest, most devastating lines set to dramatic music. The political world reacted swiftly. Progressive politicians praised Crockett's performance, with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeting, "This is what it looks like when expertise meets courage." Jasmine Crockett didn't just defend herself, she defended everyone dismissed for speaking hard truths about justice. Senator Bernie Sanders posted, "We need more leaders like Jasmine Crockett who can articulate why our criminal justice system needs fundamental reform, not just harsher sentences." Even moderate Democrats lauded her, with Senator Joe Manchin, not known for progressive stances, saying, "While I don't agree with all of Congresswoman Crockett's positions, her ability to present arguments clearly and respectfully under attack shows true leadership." Conservative commentators tried to defend Judge Judy, but their arguments felt weak against the viral momentum. Tucker Carlson on Fox News said, "Judge Judy represents decades of real courtroom experience, and we're supposed to be impressed by a junior congresswoman's talking points." But even some conservative voices acknowledged Crockett's skill. Ben Shapiro tweeted, "Disagree with her politics entirely, but Jasmine Crockett showed impressive debate skills. Facts don't care about feelings, but presentation matters." News outlets scrambled to analyze the event. CNN's analysis called it a masterclass in staying calm under pressure, noting that Crockett turned a personal attack into a policy discussion while maintaining composure. The Washington Post's headline read, "How Jasmine Crockett Won a Debate by Never Getting Angry." The New York Times published a longer piece titled, "The New Generation of Political Combat When Legal Training Meets Media Savvy." Even Fox News, typically critical of progressive Democrats, admitted, whether you agree with her politics or not, Crockett showed remarkable command of facts and composure under pressure. Judge Judy's team went into damage control. Her publicist issued a statement, "Judge Sheindlin respects all perspectives and was merely expressing her experience-based view on criminal justice issues." But the damage was done. For the first time, Judge Judy was trending for losing an argument. Her show's ratings became a topic of discussion, with some questioning whether this incident would impact her brand. Some longtime fans defended her online, but they were overwhelmed by the tidal wave of support for Crockett's performance. Beyond politics, the confrontation sparked broader conversations about generational differences, racial justice, and how America discusses criminal justice reform. Dr. Angela Davis, the renowned activist and scholar, said in an interview, "What Jasmine Crockett did was show how the next generation of leaders can challenge entrenched thinking with facts, composure, and moral clarity." Law schools began using clips of the exchange in classes on effective argumentation and staying calm under pressure. Late-night talk shows had a field day. Stephen Colbert joked, "Judge Judy got so owned by Jasmine Crockett that she'll need a new gavel, one made of ice, because that response was freezing." Trevor Noah added, "You know you've lost an argument when your opponent stays calm the whole time, and you look like the emotional one. That's not just losing, that's getting schooled." Saturday Night Live's Cold Open recreated the exchange, with the actress playing Crockett delivering increasingly devastating lines while the actress playing Judge Judy shrank in her chair. The clip went viral internationally, with news outlets like the BBC covering it under the headline, "U.S. Congresswoman's Calm Dismantling of TV Judge Goes Viral." International audiences were captivated by the intersection of celebrity culture, politics, and racial justice issues. Political analysts discuss the moment's implications for both women's careers. For Jasmine Crockett, it cemented her as a rising Democratic star, capable of handling any confrontation with grace and intelligence. For Judge Judy, it marked a rare public defeat, raising questions about whether her confrontational style still resonated in 2025. Universities studied the exchange as a case study in effective communication. Harvard Law School professor Charles Ogletree said, "This is a perfect example of how legal training translates to political communication." Crockett built her argument like a closing statement, methodical, fact-based, and devastating. Communication experts noted how Crockett's calm tone made her words hit harder than any angry response could have. Within 48 hours, Crockett's campaign raised over $500,000 from small donors inspired by her performance, with donations from all 50 states and messages like, "Thank you for standing up to bullies, and that was the most impressive thing I've seen a politician do in years." The fundraising surge wasn't just about money, it reflected a groundswell of support from Americans inspired by seeing someone handle confrontation with grace and intelligence. Campaign staff worked tirelessly to process the flood of donations, many accompanied by lengthy messages expressing gratitude for Crockett's principled stand. The phenomenon extended beyond politics. Teachers used clips of the exchange in civics classes to teach effective debate techniques. Business schools incorporated the footage into courses on negotiation and conflict resolution. Communication coaches used Crockett's performance as a masterclass in staying calm while delivering devastating counter-arguments. The clip became required viewing in law schools, with professors analyzing how Crockett's legal training translated into political communication. Social media analytics revealed the confrontation's viral spread crossed traditional political boundaries. Progressives celebrated the policy substance, moderates admired the composure, and some conservatives respected the tactical skill. Marketing experts studied the organic spread, noting how authentic moments of conflict generate more engagement than manufactured drama. International news outlets, particularly in Europe, covered the story as an example of America's evolving political discourse. The calm, fact-based approach resonated with audiences who often view American politics as overly theatrical. Political communication experts in other countries began analyzing Crockett's techniques, with some incorporating her methods into training programs for emerging leaders. What set this confrontation apart from typical political drama was its deeper message about discussing justice in America. Crockett didn't just win a debate, she demonstrated a new model for political leadership, combining expertise, composure, and moral clarity. Political observers speculated about her future, with some mentioning her as a potential Senate or even presidential candidate. Her ability to handle pressure while articulating complex policy positions made her a standout in a party seeking fresh voices. The confrontation sparked countless articles, think pieces, and discussions about criminal justice reform, the role of experience versus expertise in policy debates, generational differences in addressing social issues, and the power of remaining calm in heated moments. What began as a routine CNN town hall became a defining moment for both participants and a viral sensation that captured America's attention. Jasmine Crockett's calm, fact-based dismantling of Judge Judy's arguments became a masterclass in effective political communication and established her as one of the most impressive rising stars in American politics. The video continues to be shared, studied, and celebrated as an example of handling confrontation with grace, intelligence, and devastating effectiveness. In an era of political theater and manufactured outrage, Jasmine Crockett showed that sometimes the most powerful response is the quietest one, especially when backed by facts, experience, and unshakable confidence. Judge Judy may have built a career on having the last word, but on this day, Jasmine Crockett proved that the most powerful words are those delivered without raising your voice, losing your composure, or backing down from the truth. And that's a lesson that went viral worldwide for all the right reasons. Don't forget to tap that like button and subscribe for more incredible political moments like this one. The world of politics never stops delivering drama, and we'll be here to break it all down for you. What did you think of Jasmine Crockett's response? Let us know in the comments below, and stay tuned for our next video, where we'll dive into the political implications of this viral moment.